What's up, gang? What we have here is a arcade crane, or as I say, claw machine kit. What you would buy this for, what I buy it for, is if you have a dead machine or you have one that's missing a bunch of parts and you're not sure what to do. They sell these, I'd say, complete kits that you can order, and it has basically everything except for the cabinet and then the little rails that the claw rides on. I did do a series on this. The first time I put one together, it was a little bit more difficult than I thought. And I just kind of basically filmed as I was going. And it seems a lot of people had a lot of questions about this. I had no idea that it was going to be so popular, but I'm glad. So if you happen to follow the previous series, this one's going to be much more in depth. The manual does say that it recommends professional installation. I think I can help pretty much anybody get through it. It's really not that bad. These are a little bit terrible. But we'll go through everything. I'll explain what everything is. If you guys have already tried this or you're curious about what's going to happen, leave any comments down below. That way I know ahead of time as I'm filming these. So give me a second and we'll be right back. Let's take a look at the first series and my first attempt at the claw machine kit. It went pretty well. I think my video was pretty bad, but the process was smooth. About 10 or 12 5-minute clips or so. Nah, it wasn't even that many. So we use a Route 66 machine, and here's all the different parts that went along with it. And that's pretty much exact kit that we have now. And so it's been 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been, and it's still the exact same kit. I use the ASAP method. It's always start at power. And so to start this game up, we're going to have to come from the wall and then power up that power supply. It just has a regular plug in itself. So I would have to plug in 2 plugs, one for the game and then the one for that power supply to get it to work. So what I'm doing here is I've cut one end off and I'm going to attach it to the mounting plate that's on the back. That way I can get everything down to one switch. And that's where it's going to plug in there. And let's see, that, there we go. Okay, that is the plug that's actually going to plug into the board and power it up. Now this is probably what's going to be the hardest problem for most people, is going to be the programming. It's very confusing in the manual. I'm going to make this really simple on everybody, so don't worry about it. I'll get you guys through this part, no problem. Now we have it on the floor for testing. I did have some problems where the gantry was coming unhooked up at the top here. I'm going to kind of show that a little bit. I think I just had it zip tied up there or something at the time. And I went ahead and I used the joystick and the button from the original machine. So if you're lucky and you're using an old machine, you may not have to worry about that. Just like in this, I'm getting ready to do it in a machine that was broken again, so I'm probably not gonna have to worry about it again. It's pretty easy wiring though to change it out. I did use the display out of the kit though, which was easier. Now you can see here, I had to pull it back because nobody could win these giant, huge emoji faces. I changed that claw out to a bigger claw and they still couldn't win them. So what I needed to do was swap it over to a knobby ball crane, which is a winner every time. And that needs a prize sensor. So it had to get a little bit more rewiring. We'll go over that too. And these are just some questions I threw on here at the end just in case I needed extra time or I was rambling on. But some of these people in these questions went on to make their own videos, and I'm not mad. They were better videos than mine. I knew what I wanted to put out, and I just didn't have the time to do it and work at the same time without getting into trouble. But stick around, and it should be a fun series, and we'll get right into it. Let's go ahead and crack it open. This first page here does give us some warnings and disclaimers, high voltage and usual stuff like that. I definitely wouldn't try this if you don't have any previous skills with electronics or arcade games and stuff. But if you've been messing around with them, I think I can walk you through it. So let's just go ahead and start pulling off this stuff and get it out of the box. Some of this stuff we won't use. Some of this stuff I'll recommend better replacements for, like the power supply. And the most important thing is the cabinet. You need a 28-inch wide cabinet. So where this is, this is going to ride on the rails. So they're going to need to be 28 inches apart, that's a standard size for a claw machine. If you don't have the little rails that are at the top, I'm sure you can find something at a hardware store. Or if you're building, a cabinet on your own, you don't have to find an arcade cabinet. You could just build this along the wall on a pieces of plywood or something. If you're just going to do it for fun, it doesn't have to make money unless you want it to. But I've hooked them up with card readers for the arcade. I've hooked in the optional prize sensor and got that to work. But this part here is the most important part. I will give it this, the manual is a little bit better than it used to be. The very first one I did the videos on, I had to use Google Translate all the way through. This one isn't quite as bad, but I do see some spots on the board and we're gonna have to address that. Okay, she looks pretty good. I have lots of garbage, that's great. And I have to take this to the arcade still, so to make sure you can see. These here are where I'm talking about that it'll ride along the rails. But we have this is the gantry, this is the housing parts that it's gonna tell you about. This is what the main board looks like. And you can see down here at the bottom, this is where Google Translate will help. It tells you, and it does tell you in the manual what each one of these are. I'm actually going to print a label with my label maker and run it across here just to help myself, because when I get in the middle of it, I don't want to have to keep looking. And what I usually do is I take a picture, a screenshot of the Google Translate, that way I can get back to it and see what it is. But this is our main board. We'll definitely go through how to hook everything up outside of the machine before we hook it up inside, and kind of try to test everything out and make sure it works before we go through the trouble, because you don't want to spend 4 hours putting together the machine to find out that half the parts are faulty and you have to take it all out anyway. But it's really not that big of a deal. This is pretty simple kit once you do a few. So this is the power supply, and it's probably fine for this. It's a little chintzy and a little weak for me. I get this one. It is from Twisted Quarter, 200 watt power supply. And this is probably way too beefy for a crane. Probably don't need anything else. And this should be our joystick. Oh, this is all the other parts. So this here, let's show the camera. This is the LED control board. You'll see it says the E and the F on it. Oh, and by the way, this kit, I bought it at Holland Computers. It was on sale, whatever the release date of this video is. You can back it up 2 weeks and it was on sale. But they sell this kit on Amazon, lots of places. You probably recognize the name, retroarcade.us. They sell like the little JAMA harnesses and the power supplies and stuff on Amazon. So this is the LED control board. You have power on one side and then your power here, and then your signal out over there. And we have our display, which we probably won't need this one. So any of this stuff that's extra like this, just save it for your inventions, or if you're setting booty traps, or whatever you got going on. If you have Arduino or some kind of crazy stuff like I do. It seems to be a standard joystick. I was just checking to see if it was short-handled or not, because I need one for a different reason. So we got our joystick there. We got an on and off switch, which we don't need this either, but I'll use that somewhere else for sure. We have a big button. It's kind of crappy, but it does look like it will light up through there. And this is the string for the claw, the gear. And oh, the bracket's probably to hang it up on there. This is your voltmeter. This is for setting the claw string. You don't have to install this. You can use it, or you don't even have to use it really to install it. You can just set it on random too. I'll go through all the options. It's that's really going to be the hardest thing is going through the board and setting the options for this. Once we install it, it goes together pretty easy. Stringing the claw is a little difficult, but once you see somebody do it, it's not that bad. It's really only difficult if you're just blindly going into it. And this is a coin counter, so a lot of people won't be using this either. This will be if you're taking money for it. Good box there. I recognize the box on that one as I have several of those still. I always use the joystick and the button and the coin counter, or the LED display out of the original machine. So I almost always am doing this because we either bought a crane that didn't work and is missing parts, there's the speaker, or because we had one and the board fried and we can't find one for under $600. So these are your components. This is the harness. Let's see. You can tell this part goes to the claw itself. That's the interface it'll have, and it plugs into this big serial port or whatever that's called there. So it's not a terrible amount of parts really. The menu are much clearer than the first time I read it. So we have the main board buttons. I'll rename these because sometimes the translation isn't as clear. So I haven't prepared this yet. I just wanted to make sure we had everything before we start the series, because here's a troubleshooting guide, which might help some of you guys. Hold that still in case you need to screenshot it. But we'll go through this, and I'll have pictures for this too. We're gonna start this next week. Comic-Con's going on this weekend. Tomorrow it ends, and then we'll be bringing games back. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start on this project because we need games that give out prizes. That's what they're playing out right now. But if you've tried this at all, stick around for sure. Subscribe, like, whatever you want to do. And I'm definitely gonna hit this in depth and cover a lot more questions. I probably got, I wouldn't say 1,000, but I probably got 200-300 questions on it. So I want to try to help all those people. If, some of them were 3 years ago, and I know you guys have moved on by then. But if anything tells, this video will get watched a lot in the future. But thanks a lot for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. These two right here are going to be ground and 5 volt. So what do we get here? Did I not turn the game on? I didn't turn the game on. I guess that would help. Hang on.
Here it is. A nice little trade. The person I traded got what they wanted. I got what I wanted. And a pretty good deal on it too. Super hang on.
Get what I want!
That comes later.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on fire.
What happened? Whoa.
Lots of smoke.
Well, that's bad.
Yeah, well, thanks for watching.
When you take care of people, people take care of you in this community.
That's the truth.
So everyone, please remember that. Even if we're competitors, we're not enemies.